would it be better with this game for once to play something like 4-4-2?
Tony, you've opened the old can of worms there.
Luton have to find some cutting edge. That's it. I say that's it. Easier bloody said than done, isn't it?
No team in League One has had more clearances per match than Lincoln City. Are we surprised with Sonny Bradley in the heart of their defence, are we? Because, we've got to do something a bit different. Sonny Bradley's going to bake a cake, ice it, and do whatever else he wants with it.
We've got to keep a close watch on James Collins.
Would you have a problem if he celebrates if he scores?
No, he's doing his job.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in the Bradford game, but that defence has been spooked since. I think someone's got to put their arm around him this week and say, look, you know you made a mistake, but we believe in you. Go and win us this game and we'll all forget about it. The Town go on their travels again on Saturday afternoon when we head to Sincil Bank to take on Lincoln City for the first time in 7 years. And alongside me to preview the game, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe and former Trust chairman Tony Murray. Gents, another lunchtime game. Let's get back to winning ways.
I think it has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Think so, yeah. And we're going to explain why and how we can do that right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in the Football Content Awards. This season the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned prior to the intro, we are previewing Lincoln City versus Luton Town. 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. If you haven't got a ticket to the away end, already sold out, so no joy. You're going to have to fire up Sky Sports Plus if you want to watch the game. And to preview it alongside me, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe and former Trust chairman Tony Murray. And gents, this is an interesting game, isn't it? Because you look at the league table, it's delicately poised. I think there's 5 teams that could legitimately go above us should it all go a bit Pete Tong on Saturday. But by the same token, if it goes well, we could be in the top 6 again or in and around the top 6 again. It kind of feels, Jimbo, it feels like a pivotal game for that reason. It also feels like a pivotal game because you could argue that the 3 teams that we've played that were any cop this season, Bradford, Cardiff, Plymouth, and even then I might be giving some heavy lifting to it for the Plymouth game, have all beaten us. And we really need, just for peace of mind for supporters, maybe even for players and those within the camp, a dominating performance against a half-decent side. And looking at the league table and what they've achieved in recent seasons, you've got to think that Lincoln are at least that.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously they've got some familiar faces, which would add a bit of spice to it. But I think whatever, Luton have to find some cutting edge. That's it. I say that's it. Easier bloody said than done, isn't it? But they've had the amount of shots they've had was 45 or something in the last 2 games, and not enough on target. People concerned about creating clear-cut chances. They have to turn all of those good situations, promising situations, into goals. Now that's easier said than done because that's not been. Being clinical is not what they have been doing so far, really, and that's got to change.
Familiar faces, Tony, 2 in particular, 2 sort of stalwarts, heroes actually, of our League One title success. James Collins, Sonny Bradley. One is a goal away from being the top scorer in the division. The other scored at the weekend. That makes me nervous.
Yes, and old players do have a habit of haunting us, don't they? I mean, Sonny Bradley was never a prolific goal scorer, and all of a sudden this season he's banging them in. And you've got Colo, and Colo is probably, one of the most clinical strikers we've had in the last 20 years. And to be fair, because if he gets a sniff at goal, he'll score.
He will
score.
he will-
And I'm not looking forward to that. So our centre backs have got to be at the top of their game to deal with Colo and make sure Sonny doesn't get in any position to get his head on the ball in the box.
Yeah, which with the way we defended our box against Plymouth is particularly worrying, isn't it? It has to be said. If you just picked up any background noise there, a rather loud train went over. I mean, we're well across the road from it, but we just still heard it. Another one to maybe worry about, Jimbo, is Rob Street, who we apparently put in a bid towards the end of the transfer window for. He was suspended for their win at Burton on Saturday, but he's back for this game, and don't show us what we're missing, mate, please.
Well, now that you've said it, you've bloody jinxed it, haven't you? Because all three of them are going to bloody score, aren't they? You can
Well, it's
see
going to be a high-scoring game then, isn't it?
You won't.
We said this about the last one, didn't we? I think
It was.
Well, it was.
3-2.
I got one of the score lines, half the score line right, but not the other one. But yeah, it's set up. It's a really tricky tie, this one. I think that they are one of the teams that would be expected to be in and around the promotion mix, whether that's playoffs or automatic. I would say probably the playoff mix. But at the minute, we're not showing consistent signs that that's where Luton are at the moment. So you've got to cross that bridge first, and this will be one of those opportunities where you can, like you say, we come up against Cardiff, who are up towards the top and come up short. Bradford, Ryder and I come up short. The Plymouth one, I hope it was an anomaly. But, you know, they've got to bounce back, because the defeat against Plymouth, even though I tried to paint some positives on it, is still not acceptable. The way it happened, the manner of it, not acceptable, and that's got to change.
It does, yeah. What can we come up against from the Imps then? Well, you praised Plymouth in the last podcast for their clearances and how many of them that they did. Well, no team in League One has had more clearances per match than Lincoln City. Are we surprised with Sonny Bradley in the heart of their defence, are we? Because he did exactly the same for us. But it just shows, Tony, that when we get into the areas to win this game of football, we just have to do something a bit different, because I'm looking at our squad and I'm not seeing anyone up front that I'd think, yeah, he'll do Bradley in the air. So we're going to have to do, but by the same token, when you've seen Sonny Bradley in a Luton shirt, and the reason why he's no longer in a Luton shirt is he won't keep up with a Nicky Wells or a Jerry Yates or well, certainly if we get them through the middle, Millie Alley and maybe even Shaden Morris, we've got to do something a bit different. Just getting it wide and putting balls in the box. Sonny Bradley's going to bake a cake, ice it, and do whatever else he wants with it.
Yeah. Bradley dominating in the air, we know him of old, but we know he's not the quickest and the most mobile defender. So we need, as you said, players who've got the pace to be able to get the ball to feet and to run the channels properly and to take him on, because he won't like that. Centre-backs, any defender doesn't like a skillful, fast player running at them with the ball at their feet. And we've got to, any sniff at goal, we've got to have a shot at goal. We've got to, and all you say is get it on target. Just get the ball on target. Hit it, sight of goal. One of them's got to go in. Maybe two, but we've got to start doing that. And the strikers have got to man up, and they've got to come up, and they've got to perform. You know, they've done it. They've got the track record. They've got good goal scoring records. So, you know, this is what we've got to do. With the wingers, that we've got plenty of pace in the side. We've got to play the wide men down to the line. We were doing it in fits and starts on last Saturday against Plymouth. But the crosses have got to be, instead of high towards the 6-yard box or the penalty spot, they've got to pull it back towards the edge of the penalty area. Speed, you know, and midfielders and main strikers coming through and getting on the end of it. That's what we've got to do. We've got to run them ragged, basically.
That's one thing I've sort of since thought about the Plymouth defeat. Now, they obviously, with 10 men, were playing a low block, and we were trying to cross balls into that low block from a deeper position. But it's difficult to then get behind a low block, obviously, but you've got to try and draw them out. And I've no problem with Luton going wide. We've got wide players. That's okay. But I don't want to see them tossing high balls aimlessly into the box where Sonny Bradley is. What they've got to do is try and create overloads, get to the byline, cut back.
Yes,
to
exactly what I just said.
to Jerry Yates, who did have no joy whatsoever against the big lads against Plymouth, but maybe that is better, and hopefully someone in the pocket or floating around the edge of the area to pick up any loose balls, should that happen. But if we just toss aimless balls into the air, I think we might see the same thing.
That would be food and drink to Sonny Bradley all game. But the thing is, it's an away game for us, so we do have to keep it tight. Lincoln are at home. They'll want to come at us. They'll want our scalp. That's what they'll want, because, we're still one of the biggest scalps in the division because of our recent past history. So that's where we need the pace guys to work, so that we can hit them on the break and be effective on the break, because if we do that, they're going to be pressing forward. We can hit them on the break, get in behind them, and make it effective. Because our counter attacks are good, but they're not good enough. So we've got to step up, and we've got to do that, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about the Lincoln side. Obviously they're picking up some decent points and decent results, so they're no mugs. But if we do it effectively, hit them on the break, and be clinical, I can see us coming away with 3 points. But we can do Bradley for pace, but we've got to keep a close watch on James Collins, because Collins is a really good centre forward. He hasn't got great pace, but his positioning, and he's a good footballer. Always has been a good footballer. He's played against Luton plenty of times in the past, and he's been very, very effective against us. That's why we bought him. And he will play other players in. He knows what's going on around him. And the thing is, in and around the 6-yard box, he knows where to be. He knows where the ball's going to be. And he knows where he's going to get the optimum chance at goal.
Yeah.
And he susses out the defenders up against him. He very, very quickly. He's still a really good centre forward.
Oh, he's deadly, isn't he? I mean, you said he's one of the best centre forwards for Luton in the last 20 years. I think statistically he is. Like, just the amount of goals he scored.
But as you said before this, we were talking about it, and you said that's correct, but it was Danny Hilton that got all the glory and everything else. But and I love Danny Hilton, don't get me wrong. I thought Danny was a great forward for us, but I thought James Collins was far more effective.
Yeah, I think the thing with
him product.
We don't want to go trying to take too many sidebars here, but Danny Hilton was a game changer in the way Luton played, and he was a character.
Yeah.
But when Collins came in, he got far more goals and no song.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Collins was a higher scorer at a higher level, wasn't he? He scored goals in the Championship. Hilton never did, and
he scored 2 in the Championship.
Well, yeah.
I know what you mean. In volume.
Yeah, exactly. In comparison, and listen. If you looked for League One marksman over the last 10 years or so, Collins would have been high up there in all of the divisions that he played in, obviously. Top scorer for us in the division. As I said earlier in the podcast, he's 1 away from being top scorer early this season. Stevenage striker and a few others have got 5. Colo's got 4. What we also need to be, Jimbo, is up for this fight, because, listen, there's a reason why Sky are showing this game. They're not showing this game because, of any sort of outside things. They're showing this game because they genuinely think the underdog has got the beating of the favourite. They wouldn't show it for any other reason. They don't show games of football for any other reason, and so we're going to have to be up for the fight. They're going to be up for the fight. They're the most booked team in the league. fighting seems to be something that they're full of. Most yellow cards, most red cards in the league. Sonny Bradley being guilty of one of those red cards, 3 that they've got in total. So they're not going to be scared of putting their foot in. Now, if we go and put one of them Bradford performances in, I don't think we're winning this game of football. I'd forget that. We ain't winning this game of football if we go and put one of them Bradford performances in. Now, if we put in one of those performances like we put in at Burton, admittedly, we're up against a much better opponent, and they showed that on Saturday when they beat Burton. But if we put in the kind of marker like Jerry Yates and the goalkeeper after 10 seconds or whatever it was, that kind of makes them think, whoa, we're in the game here. That's a different kettle of fish. But if we turn up with the Bradford attitude, it's not going to be an enjoyable afternoon.
Well, no, and the Burton was a benchmark, wasn't it? And I actually don't think that was a problem against Plymouth. I mean, George Saville rattled into a couple of early challenges, which bode well in that sense on Saturday. So I don't think it was necessarily that. You could argue that Plymouth, wanted it more in terms of tackles and blocks and stuff. I think they did, but it wasn't for the point of trying. But I think that.
But that's my point, though, Jimbo, isn't it? We have to win that particular category. We have to want it more. We have to want to win tackles more because our quality ain't going to be allowed to come out. And there is quality. Forget the fact that, it was only 2 penalties on Saturday and everything else. Just look at this squad on paper. There is quality in it. It's not just, teams ain't just going to roll over and let it show its quality. It's got to fight for the right to show its quality. And I wasn't at the game on Saturday, as you know, but I've no reason to disbelieve that we didn't. We just had a bad day at the office. But that's the prerequisite whenever we go away from home this season, that we have to stand up. It's not a 2025 kind of saying, really, but as men, and make sure we win the physical side of it to allow the technical side of it to come good. And that's what we did in that first 15 minutes at Burton. And I'm using Burton as the example because that was the last away game. And I do think home and away games are going to be different this season. Away from home teams will come slightly more at us and kind of allow us to play like Bradford did, like Peterborough tried to do. Whereas at home, I think we're going to be playing a low block on most occasions. So we did that in the first 15 at Burton. And then when Burton realised that they couldn't win the fight, they kind of wilted really to our quality, our superior quality. I don't think Lincoln will wilt as quickly, but if we let them get on top with the fight and everything else, then we're toast.
I think that's a prerequisite in this division, isn't it? Well, it's just in football. Luton have quality. I'd like them to use it more on the flanks, particularly, but in the centre of the park, you got to win that battle. They have got the players that can do that. I just highlighted George Saville as one that isn't going to shirk a challenge, and he didn't against Plymouth. And I think that it's going to be. I don't think we can compare Lincoln to Burton in that sense. And I think you've said it yourself that they're not going to wilt if they're picking up that many bookings and red cards. Then they're going to be up for the challenge, and they're going to be one of the teams that I think are going to be up there or thereabouts in the top 8. So top 6, sorry.
You've gone down the old championship playoff rules route, haven't you? You give with the old top 8 malarkey. We won't do that now. But what an absolute load of nonsense that is. Yeah. Look, Lincoln are a good side. Their league position isn't. They're not one of these flying high after 7 games that maybe Stevenage are. They're where they're going to be, and that's fair enough. Let's kind of bring the attention back to Luton then. I've already said I think it's a pivotal game for our season. This is a pivotal month for our season. I said that before Plymouth, and it didn't start well, did it? But I think we're going to have to make changes. Maybe we don't have to make changes. Maybe getting a settled run of games into this team is the way to do it. But I mean, the team's going to come out at 11:15. I really do think this time, if I don't see Shayen Morris on it, you're going to see a grown man cry. You genuinely are. I mean, look, loads of you out there know that I'll be in Lincoln in body, but my spirit will be split between Lincoln and Nottingham, where Hampshire are playing their 50-over final. I might just stick the bloody cricket on my phone and watch that if I don't see Morris in that team, because what are we brought him for? I mean, I mean, I was pretty annoyed that Matt didn't start him on Saturday, having heard him say after the Barnet game, we've brought Morris to deal with low blocks. And then he sat on a bench for an hour while we're trying to mess around with a low block. We're probably not going to get a low block here, but as Tony alluded to, that'll throw up the counter attack. I mean, he's exciting. I want to watch exciting footballers. I'm not saying Gideon Kadir isn't exciting, but from what I've seen of the two, I'd say Morris has got that little ounce of excitement more in him. I want to watch him. I want to see him, but we'll worry about the forward players in a minute. The back three. I mean, it was pulled apart by one man, really, wasn't it, against Plymouth? I don't think it's going to be pulled apart in terms of movement by James Collins, but it's got to be on its game, hasn't it, if it's the same back three. So do you see the same back three? I mean, Mads Anderson got took off with sort of half an hour to go, 20 minutes to go against Plymouth. Not necessarily had the greatest game against said number 9, whose surname, I'm not going to try and Tolaj. But it might also have been that it was his first game back after 3 or 4 weeks out. But I don't know, the jury's out with all of the defenders, really. I don't even know who I think is the best combination of the three now.
Yeah, and that still has to be figured out, but I think it probably will be, because at the minute the options are there in the medium term, but right now I know people will say, well, if Mengi's training, he's not played a minute. You can't. I don't think you can stick him in from the start. Mengi, he's going to have to be in the squad first, then he's going to have to get some game time coming off the bench, I would probably imagine.
So then your option's Naismith, isn't it?
Yeah.
He needs to step up. Naismith needs to step up.
I mean, if he starts...
He needs to show his leadership qualities. Same as George Sutton in the middle. He needs to run that back three if he plays. And whether he'll start or not, I don't know. He seems to be Matt Bloomfield's idea of a defensive game changer at the moment, and whether that's down to his form not being great from the start. But I don't know. I'd out of the central defenders, I think Anderson looks the best bet, and I think he could probably deal with Colo better. But it's a quandary. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I mean, only a few weeks ago I was thinking, we've got to call it our back three are going to be better than most of what's in League One, and at the moment now I'm thinking, are they?
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly how I'm feeling about it. I'm now all of a sudden, I'm thinking those first 2 games were anomalies. One didn't attack us, and the other bottom of the league. It's just, and they looked so good in those 2 games. I don't know what happened in the Bradford game, but that defence has been spooked since. Yeah, it kept a clean sheet against Wigan, but
I mean, thinking about it, would it be better with this game for once to play something like a 4-4-2?
Tony, you've opened the old can of worms there. I mean, to be fair, we've done well to get 20 minutes into this podcast without that question coming out. But I mean, the answer to your question is it'd be better in every bloody game to play a back four, but it's not going to happen. You just got to look at the deadline day signings. We are no longer playing. It's not an option. It's definitely not an option until Izzy Jones comes back anyway, and Izzy Jones is miles out. So, we're fantasising if we think any different. Jesus, he needed 20 minutes to go to a back four when they'd given up the ghost of attacking on Saturday.
Just briefly looking at Saturday's game, I thought one of the positive to come out of it was the way Bramall and Ali were working together on the left side.
And that's the thing. And how often have me and Jimbo sat here and we're crying out for Ali not to come back past the halfway line, and Bramall will give him that, and he can still attack down the outside of him. It's crying out for it. But for whatever reason, Matt's pinned his colours to the mast of 3 at the back, and listen, it's going to end one way or t'other, isn't it? It's either going to die on that hill, or we'll fly on that hill. And well, the evidence so far would be the former rather than the latter, wouldn't it? But
sorry, I didn't mean to like the blue touch.
It very much is that, isn't it? It's like sticking the tube of dynamite on go, isn't it? Because it is so annoying, but it is what it is. We are going to play wingers and 3 central midfielders and 2 up front. He isn't going to change the formation. He's just signed all of those players on deadline day for this current one, and Is it Morris on the right, Jimbo? Tell me it's Morris on the right, please. Is Morris... It's going to be Ali on the left, isn't it? You can't leave Millie Ali out the side. We've said that. Okay, his end product. People would like to see more, and that's fine, and hopefully in time we will. But tell me it's Morris on the right, please.
Well, it would be if I was picking the team. It has
Pick
to
the
be.
team, Jimbo, please.
It has to be. I think the thing is, he has got the personnel to be able to change players. Gideon Kadir didn't have the game that he had against. Didn't have the game against Plymouth that he had against Barnet. And I didn't ask this because it wasn't the story. There was so much other things that were way levels above this. But Gideon took a massive whack on the head in the first half and took a lengthy amount of treatment. And whether that impacted his performance, I don't know. I didn't get to ask it. So that could be one thing. And we didn't see Shayen Morris at his best like we saw in his first cameo performance against Barnet because Plymouth were low blocked and doubled up on him. Hopefully that won't happen here, but I think he has to start because he got people excited and people need optimism from the start here, I think, because of what happened against Plymouth, it not being acceptable the way the result happened. They need that. And I think that he can bring that. And so I would put him there.
Well, I mean, also, you two guys told me in the last podcast that our final third play was naff. My words, not yours. Well, here's a guy who in 20 minutes against Barnet, absolutely against Barnet, but he'd done it for Aberdeen as well. Shows that he's got end product, whether it's via scoring, whether it's via going in the box and getting a foul, whether it's by putting a decent ball in, whether it's outpacing someone. I mean, crikey, if you can get him up against Sonny Bradley, I mean, I mentioned in that podcast, didn't I, that he'd have to give me a 90-metre head start in 100 metres. Sonny Bradley ain't starting too far behind me, is he? Let's be fair. And he's going to catch both of us. This is the thing, this is the thing that with all of this, if it's all running smoothly, no one's got any issues. But when it doesn't run smoothly, then people are going to question the tactics of leaving the back three exposed and trying to outscore the opposition. And that's absolutely fine. If you're going to die on that hill again, then it's fine. But you've got to outscore the opposition or look like you're capable of outscoring the opposition. And I just think you're likelier to outscore teams with Morris down that side.
Shayen Morris can and will get beyond the last man and get behind them. None of this crossing from outside of the, when you're not down the side of the 18-yard box, he will get, from what we've seen, unless they double up on him, and then that's another thing we've got to see him try and overcome. But no, if he does do that, he can get behind the man, he can use his pace, get to the byline and frighten people. He could get tripped or he could get to the byline and pull it back, which is where I think we're going to have better results, which I said earlier on, than we are lobbing it into the box and expecting Jerry Yates to beat Sonny Bradley in the air. It won't happen.
But you're right. Absolutely, that won't happen. But I mean, why is them doubling up on Morris seen as a negative? Yeah, okay, it might stunt Morris, but they haven't got 12 men on the pitch, have they?
No,
so
it's not a negative. And we talked about in the preview for the Plymouth one that if that happens, he can stretch teams by trying to get in behind. And if they don't allow that, then what that should free up is the people in the middle, i.e. Nelson, who played against Plymouth, or Liam Walsh if he played, Clark sometimes, to then have that space in the middle. But Nelson didn't have a very good game against Plymouth, and that was another factor.
Well, let's go on to the central midfield then. I mean, obviously Saville plays, when Saville's fit, Saville plays. There's no other six in the side. Lots of you keep asking me why we don't talk about Nakamba. He's just not in the first team plans. Forget what Matt says in press conferences about how he's ready to contribute to the team and all that nonsense. He's not even on the bench. We've got people like Jake Richards who's not on the bench, Lamine Fanny who's not on the bench. They're the future of the football club. I love Marv to bits. What he's done to this football club, absolutely superb. He's not even on the bench. He's not even playing under 21 games. He's played 45 minutes for an under 21 game. He played 90 minutes for a Zimbabwe game, which is probably Conference South level. It's just once he reappears in the plans for the team, and I don't think he ever will, which is why we're not really going down that route. Ditto Jacob Brown. When he reappears in the plans for the team, then we'll start considering them in this team option. But he's not an option, is he? And he's certainly not replacing George Saville in the side, even if he was an option. So Saville's in as the 6. assuming that we keep the midfield the same way with 2 8s, do you go with Nelson again, Tony? I mean, me personally, I've not seen how bad the performance was. I've seen, obviously, the second goal, don't get me wrong. But then on the flip side of that, he took on his man in the first half and had that shot, which was unfortunate for the keeper to turn around the post. Is he going to get caught on the edge of our box again? You wouldn't think so in that identical situation. I think he's a smart enough lad to get it down the pitch this time. But if you take him out of the side at his age every time he makes a mistake, he ain't going to get a run of football, is he? So
It's not going to do his
I think
confidence.
exactly. I think someone's got to put their arm around him this week and say, look, you know you made a mistake. You could tell by his reaction at the goal, but we believe in you. Go and win this game because you won the Burton game with that performance. You didn't cost us the Plymouth game. There were you were a contributory factor to one of the goals. Go and win us this game, and we'll all forget about it.
But the Plymouth, it didn't. The mistake against Plymouth aside, he didn't have a stinker. He just wasn't very involved.
And the best way to learn is through experience. So, once bitten, twice shy. So, no, I think he deserves the opportunity to go out there and atone, for want of a better word, because you're going to find it with young players like that. It was said in the last podcast that, they're up and down. The consistency is something they need to work on. I know when I talk about players in the past, Ricky Hill was the same when he came into the side. He lacked the consistency, but he was given the time to improve on his game, to play, to work at it, and to improve. And at the end of his time with Luton, he was probably one of the best midfield players Luton Town have ever had. And I think, I'm not saying that Zach will get to that level, but the only way he's going to be a consistently good midfielder is to give him that opportunity, not destroy his confidence by hooking him out straight away. And I don't think Matt is that type of player. I think if he doesn't pick Nelson for this game, I think it will be for other reasons. It will be like maybe a tactical thing, or maybe Zach is not 100% fit. I honestly think that would be the reason for it. But I would honestly the thing I'm thinking about is, do we need a midfield that is got that a little bit of creativity, or do we want a more battling defensive midfield to put the foot in, like play Fanning? But and we said earlier about
Is he that midfielder though?
Yeah. We need the leaders in the team and the more experienced players to step up. We need Clark to do the same thing.
Well, I was about to ask you if he'd be the second 8. I didn't see him. I mean, obviously, lots of people are blaming him for the third goal. I think that's harsh. Yeah, I know there's places where he can put it, but I mean, the geezer's got a pretty good clearance on it, and okay, I don't think ball doesn't pass through bones, does it? But again,
can I just say, with Clark, the only disappointing thing I thought about Clark was in the second half. There was one passage of play where all he had to do was play the ball square, yet he tried to slip it between two players and take it through, and he lost the ball. And it could have been dangerous. Now, the only one consistently I've seen recently being able to do that was Ross Barkley. And
he can get a game Saturday if you want.
Oh God, I would love to have him back. But I don't know. I mean, every player has a bad game, and I think they really ought to, take a leaf out of an old skipper of Luton, Terry Branston, who would tell his players in the dressing room beforehand that, we're 11 going out there, one of us is very likely today to have a bad game and it not go the way we want it to. So it's up to the rest of us to make up that shortfall and defend them. They need to start looking like that and fighting. So I'm looking at this game and I'm tended to think that maybe we should go with a more defensive midfield and have two defensive midfielders in front of the back three, and look, as I said earlier, for for the counter attack and the break with the speed merchants on the flanks, getting the ball through, and maybe Wells up front. It just. I've got this thing at the back of my head, they're going to come on and we're going to need to be defensive.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose with the Clark thing, he gets a lot of criticism, but when he's trying to play a progressive pass, is different if it's just backwards and sideways always. So I wouldn't begrudge anyone trying to make that pass, but I don't think you can.
No, he didn't try to pass it through two players. He tried to take the ball through between two players.
Yeah, well, that's the winger in him, isn't it?
I know it. And Clicker, he's another little bit inconsistent at the moment, and I don't like criticising Clicker because he's a decent guy, and he eats, sleeps, and breathes Luton now. He's a hatter through and through, and I just want to see with him a little bit more consistency and just to up his game and be a leader.
Oh, I know, I'm with you. I'm reluctant to criticise him as well, because if anyone shows up after defeats, it's generally him, isn't it? I mean, last season it was him and Morris. This season, him and Naismith, and fair play to him for doing that. What I'd like to see as a senior player in this side, as an attacking senior player in this side, I'd like to see him grab games by the scruff of the neck more. I mean, we've been critical of Tahith Chong not doing that. That's largely because of the transfer fee that came with him, but he didn't do it at all. I can't think of a game this season where Clark's really grabbed it by the scruff of the neck. Maybe I'm wrong, and I've just had a few too many sherbets earlier in the week, and it's still in my system. But I can't think of a game this season where I thought Clark ran that game, because at Burton it was definitely Zach Nelson that ran the game, and obviously earlier in the season to that we didn't really run games, did we? And obviously he wasn't on the pitch against Barnet, because what I'm starting to fear, Jimbo, is I'm keen to see more of Jake Richards. Now, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that I need to see more of Jake Richards for Jordan Clark, but we've got someone there who I think will impact games in that 8 position. And Tony's right, Fanny's another one that could play there. But the reason why I'm not kind of going down his route, and maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit, because Richards hasn't been on the bench either, but nor has Fanny. So I don't think he's immediately straight into the team if he's not been on the bench. But Richards started against Barnet. Fanny didn't. And there's an exciting footballer there. Now, whether this is the game for him, I don't know. But at some point, surely Clark's going to have to start grabbing some games by the scruff of the neck. Otherwise, these people are going to be tapping on his shoulder, and we'll get to a stage whereby keeping him in the side is going to be detrimental when you've got those options available to you.
Well, I think that's the case for everyone other than Zach at Burton, isn't it? I don't think anyone's particularly grabbed it, and maybe that's another layer of the issue here, that nobody has done that yet, which is another call for somebody like Morris, who I think can be a star turn, but we're focusing on the central positions, aren't we? But it is a strange one again, because there was so much going on at the Plymouth game. It wasn't even something that crossed my mind to ask about Fanny, maybe in the build up to this one. But where's he at the moment? I can understand the thing around Jake Richards, him being young, but he showed good composure in that Barnet game, didn't he? So I think the options are there now not to not try, and if players aren't pulling up trees. And I think that this game, considering what happened at Plymouth, there is options for him to do that, Matt Bloomfield. He's not afraid of making changes, or hadn't been at Wycombe. I think that might be a case now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying for 1 minute that I'm taking Clark out the side here. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably want Clark in for this one, but starting to run out of games before he has to take control of one or two before I'm comfortable with him being in the side. And listen, if Clark keeps on not grabbing games by the scruff of the neck, and I only use him rather than Nelson, A, because Nelson's grabbed one, and also because Clark's a 10 years seniority over him, and isn't the future of the club. And that's not to say he's not the present, but he's not the future of the club. That would be Richards and Fanny. It would appease, or it would give the Bloomfield out haters or people out there something less to go about if he stopped picking or perceivingly picking players on reputation. Now, those that tell me that he does do that, I'll throw a Cal Naismith didn't play at Burton at you. But, you know, if you've got Jake Richards, and we all saw it with our own eyes, right? And he's played 30 games for Exeter in this division. His age is pointless. He's played 30 games in this division. Good enough for this division. He wouldn't have played 30 games if he wasn't. At some point, that switch is, if Clark doesn't start grabbing games by the scruff of the neck, either scoring or assisting or carrying us forward or dominating the game in the centre of the park, that switch just feels inevitable to me at some point. I don't think it's here, but I don't think we're far away if it doesn't happen soon.
No, I don't think we're far away. And this was the line about that's in Nordas, wasn't it? That he's young and raw and still getting used to the thing. But now he's starting to get...
And Chris Makosso prior to that.
Yeah, well, Chris was an exceptional circumstance that he came in and stopped A-Rot against Watford.
But what we were told was he was too young and he's one for the future.
Yeah. But
the future's now in many ways, isn't it?
In many ways. I don't think that you can really say that if players of a senior position aren't performing. Why not give the younger guys a go? And yes, it was Barnet. Yes, they're a League Two team, and yes, then they were not very good, but we created loads of chances against them, looked really fluid. Jake Richards was part of that.
And once again, he played 30 games for Exeter in this division. He wouldn't have played Barnet 30 times for Exeter. He would have played some good sides. And whoever the manager is, Caldwell, I think it is, down at Exeter, would not have played a 17-year-old kid 30 times if he wasn't any good. Because much like we had the Zach Nelson conversation 10 minutes ago, he'd have been in and out of the side if he wasn't that good. He played 30 games. And he's only just turned 18, I think, hasn't he?
Yes.
So there's every chance he'd have been 16 when he played some of those games. That's how good he is. And Luton have got a history, and Luton fans have got a history of getting behind young kids. They excite us, don't they? Yeah. You just mentioned Ricky Hill coming into the side. That's what we do. We blood young players. JJ, the last time we were in this division, it kind of grew. The togetherness was there the last time we were in this division, but having JJ on the pitch kind of resonated even further. And I know Jake Richards isn't one of our own, but he's still a young kid that we'll all protect in the stands like we do. And again, I don't know if this is the game, or maybe we'll have this discussion 5 or 6 games time, but just putting it out there that I don't think we're a million miles away. The front two, we don't know with Nordos. You'll know by the time you watch this, because Matt will have done his press conference. Let's assume he's okay. Let's assume all 4 are okay, and 4 minus Al Hamadi, the fourth one being Bode. Who's the two up front? Are you happy with Nordos and Yates? Are you bringing Wells in?
If we play with our own low block to hit them on the break, we're going to need pace. So I'd rather go with Wells and Yates. Because if you play with Nordos and Yates, you're going to a large extent, play into Sonny Bradley's hands. You know, unless the game plan is to use Nordas as a pivot and have 2 players feeding off him who've got pace. I'm not saying, you know, he's not slow, Nordas, but he's not blessed with blistering pace, and I think that's what we need in this game. So I'd probably go with Wells and Yates.
I think the debate around it is Yates for now. Probably, I'm not saying it's my preference, but I think it's Yates and another for now until Al Hamadi's up to speed and up to running, and then you've got the options. I think that. Yates.
Well, then it's Al Hamadi and another. Yeah. You don't spend £3 million or pledge to spend £3 million on someone and not play.
Yeah. Or another option is to play Alec up there with Yates and play Bramall as left back.
That is an option. I've not seen Ali through the middle that convinced me in any. But you're right, the pace element would absolutely work. But he just ain't. He looked like a fish out of water when he'd been in the middle.
Yeah, I think he was an option earlier in the season when you didn't have those players, or Nordas wasn't sort of up to speed, based on what Bloomfield was saying. I don't think that's the case now. And I actually thought he did reasonably well in the first half. He was playing against Plymouth. I know he still divides opinions and it's a bit gangly, but I think he gave them a lot more to worry about than they did in the second half. And that could be the situation with the sending off and how they were defending deep and for their lives, and very well, admittedly. But yeah, out of the two, as I say, if you looked at the 2 9s against Plymouth, Tolaj had the greater impact. And I think it's only probably his seniority, Yates, that made him stay on the pitch over Nordos, unless there was an issue with him getting clonked for the penalty.
Well, I mean, if Nordos does start and someone wants to pop one on his chin again, then we'll take that as long as it's in the penalty box, won't we? And we've got the same referee who wants to give a penalty. He's got options, hasn't he? And that's the thing. But the thing is, we need to find these options. It's all well and good saying it's only 7 games and 6 games and it's a team still gelling and all this, that and the other, but games are running out. Teams getting away from us. And I mean, we mentioned in the last podcast, we don't know exactly what the aims and the interests are this season, but ultimately it's not a cheap day out on Saturday and people are wanting to watch the team win, and we need to kind of get that front two thing right. A couple of things that I'm looking out for with interest in this game, gents. We didn't flag it, actually. There's so much to talk about in the Plymouth game. Corners. I want to see better. I know, obviously, at Peterborough, we scored from a corner, so all those people telling me that we don't score from corners, we do. You're right. We don't score nearly enough from the amount of corners that we have. People say that we didn't win a header from a corner on Saturday, and we had something stupid like 17 of the daft things.
20,
was it? Numbers must have gone up after I last looked at the number, but that's not good then, is it? 20 corners and you haven't really got anything from it. That's not going to be easy here because Sonny Bradley will be an aerial threat. He'll be a dominant threat. And
Collar was amazing at defending.
Well, he'll be at the front post, won't he? And I don't know. Did we change any of the corners on Saturday? Did we do anything different?
Couple of times too.
Okay, so it wasn't always the same one.
All that.
So they need to be better.
Moans about the 2 men.
Yeah,
on the.
Well, there always is.
But I know why they do.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Because passing it out to that player there gives them a better angle putting the cross in,
and brings another man out to out of the box. But ultimately, 20 corners, you'd expect the goalkeeper to be worked at least a couple of times, right? So I'm looking at that in this game. I think that's fair enough. We win a lot of corners, and winning the corners ain't a problem. I think we're the 3rd highest corners in the division. I mean, you will be if you just had 20 in a game, wouldn't you? But yeah, it's about time that they become a regular threat. We had the one against Cardiff, didn't we? That McGuinness had the brilliant save from the goalkeeper against, and Mads Anderson scored against Peterborough. It's not that we're not scoring them, but that ratio's got to improve, hasn't it?
But it's also when they do take corners and they hit the corner into the box, there's no variation. It seems to be the same thing. So I'd like to see them, go for an in-swinger, but vary up with outswingers as well towards the penalty spot, with players coming in. So getting the centre-backs to come out. So there doesn't seem to be that variation there.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, listen, look, we're not going to win 20 corners on Saturday. Unless they get sending off and the game state changes. But by and large, we win.
I was going to say, at least we're beating the first man now.
Well, that is the positive. Absolutely, as Colo heads every single one away on Saturday. But we usually get within the vicinity of 6 to 8. Do you know what? One of the corners I wouldn't mind us trying is that one to the edge of the box for someone to volley it. Now, I don't care if the volley ends up in Timbuktu, but it's going to make them think the next time we get a corner, well, we've got to cover that one on the edge of the box. So someone is going to edge away from the goal line because you can't offer it up again, and then that'll free up the space for, like Tony said, a different person to be on the end of it and things like that. It's just, I'm not against our corners. I think Saville's a really good corner taker, and largely he's got an awful lot of good players to aim for. But we can't be having 20 corners and not threatening. I mean, that is a big Luton thing over the last 10 years, set pieces.
Yeah, the other thing that I noticed with it as well is there doesn't seem to be a player putting pressure on the goalkeeper at corners. Like, beforehand you'd get a midfield or a centre forward in front of the goalkeeper, putting a bit of pressure on him, making it difficult for the goalkeeper to come for the ball. They're not. And he saw it in the last game, and you've seen it in previous games where corners are going over and the goalkeeper's got nobody on them, so they're just picking it out of the sky, and we've lost that advantage.
Yeah, we have, yeah. Big thing though, isn't it? We got to get better at that. That's not to say that we're not improving. I think we're much better at them this season than we were last season. Of course, the defenders that we're going up against nowhere near as good, but it's an area that's it's been an area of strength for us in our rise. We need to get back to that being an area of strength of us, and obviously it'll be all the more apparent because at the other end, one of our former attacking players of these set pieces is going to be attacking their set pieces.
Well, certainly in the defensive sense, we've got to get that right because they'll have threats, as we know. The ratio of chances from corners hasn't been particularly high, probably exaggerated by the amount that came and went against Plymouth. Again, they were imperious in the air, Argyle, so you've got to give them credit for that, but a bit of variation wouldn't go amiss, would it? Short corner here or there, and it was a little bit too much like we'll just lob it in the box and see what happens, and not more often than not, every single bloody time it was away. So I don't want to see another 90 minutes of that.
No, don't think anyone does. And then the other thing I'm looking for, as I said in the last two preview podcasts, do our wingers be in their half of the pitch or our half of the pitch? If they're in their half of the pitch, again, I'm confident that we win a game of football. If they're in our half of the pitch, I'm watching this game. If I'm not watching the cricket on my phone, I'm watching this game through my fingers again.
Well, they were in their half of the pitch,
and we lost. And we lost the game. Well, yeah, but it's hard to judge it against Plymouth, isn't it? Because they just gave up at 2-2, as you would do when you're a man down. But in a normal game of football, are our wingers Burton Barnett or are our wingers Cardiff?
Yes, and that's something. I don't know. I mean, I think Cardiff played some nice football.
But I expect Lincoln to play some nice football.
Yeah, so then it's can we win that battle? I see what you mean.
Can we get on top of them and make their nice football 20 yards that way, as opposed to in areas that are going to threaten us? And if further towards their goal they are, the more that Yates' press, Nordos' press, Wells' press becomes a big thing, and we win the ball high up the pitch, we will score goals. That's what this team's kitted out for.
As a repeat of the Bradford performance.
Absolutely not. Crikey, if we get that, I mean, that's not going to be accepted performance or certainly not result, is it? So there's lots to look out for there, and hopefully we've sort of whetted your appetite for what should be hopefully a much better afternoon in terms of the outcome than it was last Saturday. All that's left before we leave you for this podcast is the score predictions. Tony, you're the guest. How does Lincoln versus Luton finish?
Oh God, I knew I'd get this. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1 for Tony. Jimbo?
Do I have to dig it out again? Every time I think it's gone, I have to bring it back out, and do I have to go reverse psychology for the win? And I'm a little quite nervous about this one because I think that they're quite a useful side.
So it ain't reverse psychology for the win. You genuinely think that they might win?
Yeah, does that make it not reverse psychology for win? That means it just means we're doomed psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose, to be honest. No, genuine, I think they're going to lose.
By
1-0.
Bloody hellfire. All of this attacking stuff that we've talked about for the last 2 weeks, and now you're trotting out a nil. I mean, what's going on, man?
I'm going off gut, and since everybody else seems to go off gut rather than evidence, and I'm going off my gut, and it could be way off. Usually is.
So is it going to be...
Yeah, which one of the two scoring is basically?
It's going to be Collins. Going to be Collins. I don't actually know.
That's what I've got with my 1-1. I've got Collins for them and Bradley own goal for us.
We are in a position where we never thought we'd be playing James Collins ever again.
Well,
There's
once he'd left the
no
championship.
disrespect to him.
Once he'd left the
Yes,
championship.
and we'd gone up, and we're now here, and we're going to have to deal with this situation. And he's a poacher. And if we give him a sniff, he'll take it. Whereas in the opposite way, we haven't had that assurance yet. So, if that continues, where we're creating chances and not taking them, not being clinical, we know that in the opposite way, they will.
He's capable of scoring from outside the box as well. When you look at his first game for us, the hat trick, one of his goals was a shot from outside the box.
And he'll be so up for it.
Yeah.
Because he knows that he can do a job, and he probably thought that he could have another season, maybe. I don't know the situation there, but he's confident. It's a very confident bloke. So,
Which brings me on to my next question. We all know him well enough. Do you think he'll celebrate if he scores?
I think he will. He did it.
Would you have a problem if he celebrates if he scores?
No,
me
because
neither.
he's doing his job.
Yeah, me neither. I have no problem either.
no, I think you should never do it. You should never just go, you've scored a goal. It's the best thing in football. Have the time of your life, mate.
I do respect our ex-players that don't celebrate goals. I mean, against us, I understand that. I mean, I can remember touring to Steve Howard, scoring for Derby against us. He didn't celebrate. And Kingsley Black, he scored against us for Nottingham Forest, and he didn't celebrate. He just turned around and walked back to the centre circle. So,
I mean, I know he was flagged offside, but when Andre Grace celebrated against us, I didn't have a problem with it. He's not in a Luton shirt no more. Your job's to score goals for your current club and crack on.
it was
funny. It was brilliant when he looked and saw the offside flag, though. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That Lino's will never have to buy a drink in Kenilworth Road again. That's for sure. 2-2 is how it finishes, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that good enough then? That's the other question, isn't it? Would a draw be good enough?
I'm the one who asks the questions on this podcast, Jimbo.
No. I'm asking you a question here. Listen, the thing is, there is...
For me, and I can only speak for myself, and you guys are going to have to tell me if I've got the right answer, and I'll let Tony answer it for himself in a minute. For me, if we come away from Sincil Bank on Saturday with a draw, I'm absolutely fine with it. I think it's a tough fixture. I think they're a good side. I think they're a side that, I'm not saying they're absolutely certain to be in the top 6 this season, but I think they're certain to be in the top 10. I think you go to Lincoln and you draw the game, and that, as an isolated result, is fine. Where it doesn't necessarily become a fine result is having not taken advantage of the Plymouth 10 men for 50 minutes, and if we then weren't to beat Doncaster next Saturday, then it looks like a struggle of a result, doesn't it? But just purely on Saturday, at the start of the season, if you'd said to me you're going to get a draw at Lincoln, I wouldn't have been too disappointed. No, I don't know about you, Tone.
A draw would be a good result, I think. I think it's going to be a hard game. I'd love to see us come away with a 1-0 win, but I don't think. I just think consistently, although our defence has had a good record, I still think they make mistakes. And, we've been lucky in previous games that we've got away with some. I think if we make mistakes on Saturday, I think Collins will take advantage.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a tough fixture. I think they're a good side. I think they're well coached. They've got a good coach. They've been in and around the top 6 for the last 2 seasons. They're genuine. They've got good players. They get good loan players. They had Joe Taylor from us, didn't they, a season or 2 back? Yeah, I think it's a hard game. Listen, if we win this game, I'll be so happy because, and I actually think the next 4 or 5 games are tough. I know Blackpool are struggling in the league and all of that, but they're better than their league position. I think if we win any of these games, I'll be really, really happy. There are a couple that I think we will win. This is just one I'll be quite happy with a draw in. But what I would say is, I'd like it to be a draw where we've had most of the play. I don't want it to be one of those draws where we've hung on for dear life and got out of it luckily with a draw. I'd like us to at least show we've been involved in the game, sort of thing. I'm trying to think of a draw that it's kind of, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but a draw like the Middlesbrough at home last season, where we've had the majority of the game and we just couldn't get it over the line. That sort of draw. I wouldn't
Plymouth last season.
Yeah,
that was another one.
Yeah, Plymouth last season as well. I wouldn't want it the other way, where we don't. To be fair, we don't actually come out of many games as a draw that we've deserved to lose, do we? we generally lose if we deserve to lose, don't we? That's the thing. But I just want us to show something against a good side. If we beat them, that will mean a lot to me. That will tell me that we are moving forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to go on a run that's going to sort of stabilise the panic that seemed to have set in after the Plymouth game. I think
it.
that, a couple of podcasts ago, I was like, "Oh, you have to go for a 10-game unbeaten run." I'm going to like half that now and go probably 5, and some of those might be draws, but you're going to have to not get beaten for a while.
Yeah, I'm not even on that, Jimbo. I just want a confident, competent performance against a confident, competent side that says to me, I mean, I'm not panicking, but I haven't got the emotion of Saturday. I wasn't at the game. I understand the results and I understand you guys that are, but I am just worried that our results against the better sides that I've seen us play this season haven't been good. And that needs to change, because otherwise I will start to get concerned, because as good as I think Lincoln will be Saturday, there are better sides. And we've still got to play them. Cardiff are the only ones, and Bradford maybe. But you've still got the Huddersfield, you've still got the Stockports, you've still got the Boltons and the other teams that are in and around it to play. So if we can put on a decent performance, and if we come away with a draw, I'm absolutely happy with that. So 2-2 for me, 1-1 for Tony, and 1-0 Lincoln for negative Nancy over in the corner there, and and that's how it is. And it wasn't even reverse psychology for the win.
No, it probably wasn't on this occasion. It's just
That's the thing, though, isn't it? We are worried because, as optimistic as we are, we're not seeing it out on the green, as someone once said, are we? And we need to start seeing our optimism in this studio displayed in performances on the pitch. And let's say that happens on Saturday. Get your score predictions into us. Please pop it on the comments for this preview episode. Just make it a whole lot easier for me to get the results and everything up to speed, so that we can get the leaderboard out to you when we do the podcast review Sunday night, which will be out to you usual time on Monday. Tony, thanks for joining us this week, mate. Really appreciate having you on.
Really enjoyed it.
I'm glad that you're well and everything, and come back and see us again soon.
I will do.
Excellent. Jimbo, thanks for your thoughts as always. And thanks to you guys for watching, listening, however it is that you support this podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. Thanks also to all of the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Till next time, which will be a review of Saturday afternoon's game at Lincoln. Well, from the three of us, convince us, Town. Come on, we can do this.